Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Spirit, Mind, Body podcast. I am Jeremy. I am a born-again follower of Christ. I am a husband, a father. I am a worship leader and elder at the church in Wisconsin. And I am excited to study the Word of God with you this morning and just encourage you generally to just progress in life, to live a life that honors the Lord spiritually, mentally, and physically, and just to dig deeper and to mature. So we'll jump right into it. Genesis 27 and 28 today, and Mark 6, 1 through 13. In Genesis 27, we continue on here with the story of Isaac, and Jacob and Esau have been born, and we fast forward to the end of Isaac's life. He knows that death is not far from him, and he wants to bless his son Esau, who is his eldest son, at this point. And whether or not Isaac knew that Esau sold his birthright to Jacob, we don't know. It doesn't say that specifically. It seemed like it was done very flippantly, and it said that Esau, at the end of the last chapter, despised, or a couple chapters ago, that he despised his birthright. It seems very just a fleeting thought to him. Didn't really matter. Give me some food. I don't care. Take my birthright. Now, the birthright didn't necessarily, it wasn't that if you had the birthright that you got all the blessings from the father, but it typically meant the greater blessing. So we will see with Jacob, actually, he blesses numerous of his sons. He doesn't just bless one. There are multiple blessings that get passed out. But it seems as though Isaac definitely wanted to bless Esau greater, being the firstborn. And so now we look here, and we know the story, most of us, that Jacob, under the prompting of Rebekah, deceives Isaac. He can't see very well, and so they put some goat skins on him to make him feel hairy. And Rebekah prepares the food that Jacob thought that Isaac thought Esau was going to make. And so Jacob brings this food, and he's got hairy hands, tricks Isaac into giving him the greater blessing. And he does. He blesses him with just about everything that he can. And Esau comes in shortly after. Jacob is blessed, and he is absolutely broken up about it. He's crying out to his father, "Don't you have any other blessing?" And what we see is it seems as though Isaac comes up with what he can. He's already blessed Jacob with the blessing that his brother will serve him, that he'll be master over his brothers. And so Isaac kind of comes up with what he can, and he says that Esau will live. It says his dwelling shall be of the fatness of the earth, the dew of the heaven from above. By his sword he shall live. He shall serve his brother, and it shall come to pass that when you become restless, you shall break his yoke from your neck. And so there's sort of an out of that serving your brother, and it's not the blessing that he was looking for, living by the sword and living off the land, and it wasn't exactly what he wanted, but it's what Isaac was able to give him. And Esau leaves with hatred and murder in his heart against Jacob. His plan is, once my dad is dead, I'm killing my brother. I'm not going to put up with this. And so Rebekah says, you better get out of here. I don't want to lose you. And then chapter 28, Isaac actually sends Jacob away to Padan Aram, to get away from the daughters of Laban, who was Rebekah's brother we read about previously, and says, I don't want you to marry the daughters of the land of Canaan. Here Esau already has two wives that are Hittites, and they're Isaac and Rebekah are not fans of these ladies, and Isaac says, Jacob, go get away from the land where your mother's from. And he's on his way, and the Lord appears to him in a dream at Bethel. He names it Bethel, and God restates the promise given to Abraham to give it through Jacob, to give him all the land around him. And he essentially says, this promise is still for you and your descendants. And we see then after Jacob sets up that stone, pours oil on it, and essentially sets up an altar to some extent to the Lord, a monument. We see that he promises a tithe to the Lord, and this is the second example of a tithe, I believe, that we've read so far. The first being with Melchizedek, Abraham tithing to Melchizedek. So that's just a small note. A tithe is not commanded by God to the modern day church. It's something that is not a law. It's not a commandment to the modern day church. Giving absolutely is. We are to be givers as the church, and we see even here, before the law was even given to Israel, to the nation of Israel, this is the second example of a tithe being given, a tenth being given. And it's just a good pattern. It's just a good pattern, trusting the Lord with that money, that tenth, or that typically it's money nowadays, but the resources then were livestock and produce and these things. But it's a tenth of your increase. So we see that example there. So that's just a little bonus thing. Tithe was not supposed to be a main focus of today, but just a little bonus that we see that pattern in Scripture. Moving ahead to Mark 6:1-13, Jesus goes to his hometown and is basically rejected because he is thought of as just that carpenter's son. And he makes the comment that here, let's just read what he says. A prophet is not without honor except in his own country, among his own relatives, and in his own house. And so he's basically saying, I'm just, where you're from, people know you, and they just don't seem to give you that honor that you're due. And this is the Messiah of all people, but they just go, wait, he's just from Nazareth. He's just the brother of James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon, and his sisters are here. And so, little tidbit, we see that Jesus is one of at least 7 children. So he came from a big family. But it's just, they see like, he's just the carpenter's son. Is this not the carpenter's son of Mary? And so he just, it says he marveled because of their unbelief. Like, how you guys, how can you not believe that I am who I say I am? So moving ahead, we see that he's sending out the 12 disciples, 2 by 2. And it says he gave them power over unclean spirits. He commanded them to take nothing for the journey except a staff, but to wear sandals and not to put on 2 tunics. So just don't take anything any more than what you've got on. You just go and trust that the Lord's going to take care of you. Stay in whatever house that you get to when you get there. And if people in the city where you go don't receive you, you shake the dust off your sandals. And that's a visual testimony of just God's wrath against them, basically. And it says that it'll be more tolerable for Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. That's a major condemnation against those cities that reject what this, these disciples are being sent out to preach and to minister, to cast out demons, to heal. Essentially, they're bringing the gospel before it's the gospel. They're preaching about Christ and what he's come to do even before he's actually died. Like, they don't even fully understand the scope of it yet, but Jesus is sending them out to go and minister to the people. And so he says, just go, just trust me, go and do what I've called you to do, and you'll be cared for. So, and another thought that I had was, why will it be more tolerable for the people of Sodom and Gomorrah than it would be now for these people who are they're sharing Christ with? And the only thing that I could come up with, because Sodom and Gomorrah was bad news. They were doing we have the word sodomy nowadays that comes from the name of that city, and we see what happened with Abraham and Lot and the angels, or not Abraham, but Lot and the angels that visited him, and it was bad. And so why is it worse now for these people that reject what the disciples are bringing? And the only thing I can think is that they are bringing Christ. They are bringing the message of the Messiah to the people, and that's not something that Sodom and Gomorrah had the benefit of. This is your prophecies fulfilled. Like, look to this, but this is Israel, where the disciples mostly were going, and this is like the people who Christ says, like, you guys are expecting me. I'm the Messiah. I'm the one that you should be looking to, So that's the only thought that I had there, was that maybe that's why it will be worse for these towns than for Sodom and Gomorrah. And then just to finish off today, guys, a physical encouragement, exhortation, diet. A diet is not a temporary eating plan, although it can be. But when I say diet, when we focus on diet, this is a greater scope of the gluttony encouragement that we talked about once earlier. But diet is important, and it's important in a few different aspects. Firstly, to eat in moderation. So that is part of it, the gluttony thing. Eat in moderation, not to overeat, not to eat more than what we should. But then specifically what we eat is something. There are a few changes that people can make in their diet, and really, when you're changing your diet, it should be small changes at a time, incremental small changes, so that it can be sustainable. Not like oh, I'm not going to eat any carbs whatsoever for the next month and whatever, because that's such a drastic thing, and it's not usually sustainable for most people. So, in general, with your diet, we should be prioritizing protein. Most people don't eat enough protein, and lean muscle mass. Protein's important to develop muscle, and that carries us. That's not just like, oh, you're a youngster that wants to have a great looking physique. That's not the point. The lean muscle mass and good protein all the way through our senior years is super, super important, because we tend to lose muscle mass much more quickly in our older years. And lean muscle mass is what allows us to prevent falls and injuries, to heal more quickly, to continue to burn more calories. There's a lot of reasons why you would want lean muscle mass going into your later years in life. And so whether you're young or you're old, prioritize protein. And then the other thing is just eat in moderation. Try to get enough fiber, fruits and vegetables. If you can prioritize protein and fiber in your diet, you're typically going to get the vitamins, the nutrients that you need, and you're going to feel better. You're going to be able to develop muscle. And I'm not one that says cut out carbs or cut out goodies or cut out treats. Limit them, but I'm going to just say use moderation, use discretion, and make good choices. It's okay to have a little bit of something. You don't have to have a whole pint of ice cream. You can have a few spoonfuls of ice cream, or whatever it is. Obviously, there's many applications to this. So Just good choices, small changes, and don't beat yourself up. Don't stress over it. If you're getting stressed over something because you really want to have something, maybe pray. Maybe pray that you wouldn't desire that thing so much. But also, if it's going to cause you stress and anxiety, have a little bit of it. Scratch the itch. Don't go overboard. Scratch the itch and don't stress about it. Maybe move a little bit more, exercise a little bit more, but it's going to be okay. Moderation. So, protein, fiber, moderation. That's it, guys. Appreciate you guys joining me. We'll see you tomorrow.